Have you ever looked up at the moon and wondered, how did we get there? It's a story of ambition, rivalry, and one of the greatest technological achievements in human history. It all started not with a dream of exploration, but with a race. The Cold War. The year is 1957, and the Soviet Union launches Sputnik 1, the first artificial satellite. The world is stunned. In America, it's a wake-up call. The space race has begun. The early years were tough for the United States. The Soviets were consistently one step ahead. They sent the first animal into orbit, then the first man, Yuri Gagarin. America was falling behind, and President John F. Kennedy knew he had to do something bold. In 1961, in a famous speech to Congress, he threw down the gauntlet. He declared that America would commit itself to landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth before the decade was out. It was an audacious goal. At the time, NASA had only 15 minutes of human spaceflight experience. They didn't have the rockets, the computers, or even a clear plan of how to do it. But they had a mission, and so Project Apollo was born. The early days were filled with trial and error. The Mercury program sent the first Americans into space. The Gemini program taught them how to work in orbit, how to perform spacewalks, and crucially, how to dock two spacecraft together, a vital skill for a moon mission. But the path was paved with tragedy. In January 1967, during a routine launch rehearsal for what was to be the first Apollo mission, a fire broke out in the command module. Astronauts Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee tragically lost their lives. The Apollo 1 disaster was a devastating blow. It shook NASA to its core and forced a complete redesign of the spacecraft, making it safer and more reliable. The program was put on hold, but the dream was not abandoned. The sacrifice of the Apollo 1 crew would not be in vain. After nearly 2 years of painstaking work, NASA was ready to fly again. Apollo 7 tested the redesigned command module in Earth orbit. Then came Apollo 8, a truly daring mission. For the first time, humans left Earth's orbit and traveled all the way to the moon. On Christmas Eve 1968, the crew of Frank Borman, Jim Lovell, and Bill Anders orbited the moon, reading from the Book of Genesis to a captivated world below. They took the iconic Earthrise photograph, a stunning image of our blue planet hanging in the blackness of space. It was a moment that changed our perspective forever. Apollo 9 followed, testing the lunar module, the spidery-looking craft that would actually land on the moon in the safety of Earth orbit. Then, Apollo 10 served as the final dress rehearsal. Astronauts Tom Stafford, Gene Cernan, and John Young flew to the moon, descended in the lunar module to within just 9 miles of the surface, and then returned to the command module. They did everything but land. The stage was now set. July 16, 1969, the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The world holds its breath as the colossal Saturn V rocket, the most powerful machine ever built, rumbles to life. On top sits the Apollo 11 crew, Commander Neil Armstrong, Lunar Module Pilot Buzz Aldrin, and Command Module Pilot Michael Collins. With a thunderous roar that shakes the very ground, they lift off, beginning their historic 4-day journey to the moon. The trip is smooth. Collins stays in orbit aboard the command module, Columbia, while Armstrong and Aldrin climb into the lunar module, named Eagle. They separate and begin their descent. This is the most dangerous part of the mission. The guidance computer, less powerful than a modern smartphone, starts flashing alarm codes. Mission control in Houston is scrambling, but a young flight controller named Steve Bales gives the call. Go! We're go on that alarm. Then, another problem. Armstrong realizes they're heading for a crater filled with boulders. He takes manual control, flying the Eagle like a helicopter, searching for a safe spot to land. Fuel is running dangerously low. Back in Houston, the tension is unbearable. With just seconds of fuel remaining, Armstrong's calm voice crackles through the speakers. "Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed." A wave of relief and jubilation erupts in mission control and around the globe. A few hours later, the hatch opens. Neil Armstrong slowly makes his way down the ladder. As his foot touches the fine, powdery lunar soil, he speaks the immortal words, "That's one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind." Buzz Aldrin joins him shortly after. For over 2 hours, they explore this new world. They plant the American flag, collect rock and soil samples, and conduct experiments. They describe the landscape as magnificent desolation. Meanwhile, Michael Collins orbits alone, 60 miles above, the loneliest man in the universe, anxiously awaiting their return. The return journey is just as critical. The Eagle as ascent engine has to fire perfectly to lift them off the moon and rendezvous with Columbia. It works flawlessly. They dock, transfer their precious cargo of moon rocks, and jettison the Eagle. The 3 astronauts begin their voyage home. On July 24th, Columbia splashes down safely in the Pacific Ocean, fulfilling Kennedy's promise, with just 5 months to spare. The Apollo program didn't end with Apollo 11. 5 more missions would successfully land on the moon, each one more ambitious than the last. Astronauts drove a lunar rover, explored highlands and canyons, and conducted extensive scientific research that reshaped our understanding of the moon and the solar system. The final mission, Apollo 17 in 1972, carried the only scientist to walk on the moon, geologist Harrison Schmitt. The Apollo program was more than just a race against the Soviets. It was a testament to human ingenuity, courage, and the power of a shared dream. It pushed the boundaries of technology, leading to countless innovations we use every day, from GPS and medical imaging to wireless tools and fire-resistant materials. It inspired a generation to look to the stars and believe that anything is possible. The story of how we reached the moon is a reminder that when we dare to dream big and work together, we can achieve the impossible. It is a legacy of exploration that continues to inspire us as we look to the next giant leap, returning to the moon, and then, perhaps, setting foot on Mars. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey through history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more stories of human achievement. See you next time.